Hello guys, let's solve today's daily challenge that is isomorphic strings. तो इस क्वेश्चन में हमको दो स्ट्रिंग्स दी हैं एस और टी और हमसे कहा है कि हमें ये डिटरमाइन करना है बेसिकली आइसोमॉर्फिक है या नहीं दोनों स्ट्रिंग। तो यहाँ पे डेफिनेशन दी है कि भाई आइसोमॉर्फिक स्ट्रिंग्स होती क्या है। तो बेसिकली इतना समझो आइसोमॉर्फिक स्ट्रिंग्स यहाँ पे जो लिखा है मैं यहाँ पे एक्सप्लेन कर रही हूँ। ऑब्वियसली यू हैड टेक रेड इट ऑलरेडी। सो ओके, तो आइसोमॉर्फिक का मतलब बस इतना है कि अगर मान लो कोई कैरेक्टर ए है, वो किसी कैरेक्टर बी को मान लो पॉइंट कर रहा है, ठीक है, इज मैपिंग टू बी। सो जितने अकरेंसेस एस में ए के हैं वो बी से ही हमको रिप्लेस करने हैं, ठीक है। देन जैसे मान लो ए है, मैंने बोला ए बी से ही वो होना चाहिए, बट मान लो जैसे ए था वो बी पे कर ही रहा है, ठीक है। मान लो एक और कैरेक्टर आ गया वो भी बी को ही मैप कर रहा है, तो दिस कैन ऑल्सो नॉट हैपन, ठीक है। तो बेसिकली ए की मैपिंग अगर बी से हो गई तो just think of it like that A has married to B. Now B cannot marry any other person, right? So if let's say E is trying to map B, so B cannot marry E. So basically A can only marry B. So if A is mapping to B, then B should be mapping to A. This should also be true. So basically यही दो कंडीशन चेक करनी है, राइट। सो लेट मी एक्सप्लेन यू यूजिंग एन एग्जांपल। यहाँ पे भी लिखा हुआ है, आई विल रीड इट वंस, कि ऑल अकरेंसेस ऑफ अ कैरेक्टर मस्ट बी रिप्लेस्ड विद अनदर कैरेक्टर, ठीक है। तो जैसा मैंने बोला, जैसे ए है स्ट्रिंग, जैसे मान लो ए बी सी डी है, ठीक है, एंड ए। सो ए को अगर मैंने बी से रिप्लेस किया है तो यहाँ बी है, तो इस ए की जगह भी बी आना चाहिए, ठीक है। तो all occurrences of a character must be replaced with another character. Then we are told no two characters may map to the same character, ठीक है। तो no two character may map to the same character simply means that if A has mapped to B, A cannot map to any other character, and vice versa is also true. If B has mapped to A, correct, then B cannot map to any other character, correct. So बस यही चीज हमें चेक करनी है, राइट। सो इसके लिए भी एक एग्जांपल यहाँ पर देखते हैं। जैसे मान लो यहाँ पर था फू बार, राइट। सो इफ आई टेक एस एज फू एंड टी एज बार, ठीक है, एस इज दिस, टी इज दिस। सो एफ इज मैपिंग टू बी, एफ इज मैपिंग टू बी, ओ इज मैपिंग टू ए, ओ इज मैपिंग टू ए। अभी तक सब सही है, बट हियर ओ इज ट्राइंग टू मैप टू आर, ओ इज ट्राइंग टू मैप टू आर। सो एज आई सेड कि if O has married to A, then O cannot marry R, correct. So that means in this case it would be false because O is trying to map to R, पर O को तो A से ही मैप होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि O की सारे अकरेंस तो मैं A से ही रिप्लेस करूंगी। सो दिस कैन नॉट बी ट्रू, सो यहाँ पे इसलिए फॉल्स आंसर। सिमिलरली अगर मैं इसको ऐसे देख लूँ बार, ठीक है, और T को बोल दूँ कि ये फू है, ठीक है, तो B is trying to map to F, B is trying to map to F. Now A is trying to map to O, ठीक है, यहाँ तक भी ठीक है। Now R is trying to map to O as well, but A has mapped to O, right? तो R cannot now map to O, ठीक है। R is also trying to map to O, but this cannot be true, ठीक है। तो इस केस में भी हम क्या रिटर्न करेंगे, फॉल्स रिटर्न करेंगे। These two strings are not isomorphic, ठीक है। सो बस यही दो कंडीशन चेक करनी है। एक मैपिंग होगी एस से टी स्ट्रिंग में और एक मैपिंग हमको टी से एस में भी चेक करनी पड़ेगी, राइट। बिकॉज हाउ विल आई चेक फॉर दिस, सी ये चेक करना तो इजी है कि ओ इज ऑलरेडी मैपिंग टू ए, नाउ ओ इज ट्राइंग टू मैप टू आर, सो दिस इज इजी। बट how am I supposed to check for A? If A is mapping to O, then is there any other character mapping to O as well, right? Here R was trying to map to O, तो मुझे दो वे मैपिंग चाहिए। बेसिकली S should be mapping to T as well as all the characters in T should be mapping to S, right? तो बस इतना चेक करना है हमें। तो ऑब्वियसली बार बार मैप 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 कर रहे हैं तो यहाँ पर मैप ही यूज करना पड़ेगा, राइट। तो लेट अस नाउ सी हाउ टू सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन, ठीक है। So we have basically discussed the whole logic, that this was the only logic and this was the only observation in this question, right? ये तो सब observe कर लेते हैं, but this is not usually visible. Okay, so we are now clear on to the logic. Now what we're going to do to create the mapping from S to T, we're going to create a map 1. Then to create a mapping from T to S, we're going to create a map 2, right? So let us take this example, paper and title, okay? So I'll do a dry run for this. We have paper, okay, and T string has title. So I said create two maps, okay, create two maps. ठीक है. फर्स्ट थिंग इज देखो, जैसे हमें आइसोमॉर्फिक चेक करना है, हाँ, तो बेसिकली हमें एस के सारे कैरेक्टर रिप्लेस करने हैं टी के कैरेक्टर्स से. बट मान लो एस और टी की लेंथ ही नहीं सेम है, सो दैट इज अ फॉल्स केस. जब लेंथ ही नहीं सेम है, सो हाउ एम आई सपोज टू गेट टी फ्रॉम एस, करेक्ट? तो इन दैट केस वी हैव टू रिटर्न फॉल्स, अदरवाइज वी हैव टू check, right, using map 1 and map 2, right? So let us see now. अभी मैं मैप बनाती हूँ, ठीक है. This is map 1 and this is map 2. So we will only be creating these maps when the string lengths are equal. So यहाँ पे string length is equal 5 5, right? Okay, now start iterating in S. So check for P. So P is not already present, so simply hash it. So for P, what you have to hash? T of I, that is this one. So we are on the 0th index because. So P is mapped to T. Now, as I said, we have to do double mapping, right? S से T पे मैप करना है और T से S पे भी मैप करना है. तो इसके लिए भी हम मैपिंग क्रिएट कर लेंगे कि T should map to P. Alright, then as soon as we come to A is also not present, so let us hash it. So for A, we will hash it with I, right? So now my pointer is here. So A is mapped to I. Then I should be mapped to A here. Alright, then as soon as I come to P, so I have to check P is mapping to T. So here P is already present in my map. So now I have to see that is the mapping same. Is the mapping same as I did when I previously hashed it, right? So P should map to T. So is P again mapping to T? Simply compare these two, right? Whatever is present at the third index. So yes, it is. And also check vice versa. If T is present in map 2, is it mapping to P only? Yes, it is mapping to P. So we will not return any false. Keep iterating now. Come to E. As soon as you come to E, E is not present, so hash it. So for E, you will make it, you'll map it with L, correct? And similarly, L should be mapped to E. Okay, L should be mapped to E. Okay, now let us go ahead to R. So as soon as we come to R, R should be mapping to E. Okay, R should be mapping to E. All right, because it was not present. Then E should be here. Here E should be mapping to R. Okay, so now we can see that none of these constraints are violated. So that means I have completed my iterations and none of the constraints were violated. So I can simply return true in this case. Let us take for a false case. So let's say my string S is, we'll take this one only, and T is equal to, let's say, bar. Okay, let's say we have this string. Let me take another example. It would be too easy, correct? Let us take B, A, B, C, and let us take here B, A, D, C. All right. Now let us create our maps again. Okay, so here's the map 1. Here's the map 2. All right. Now I'll come to this one, right? The very first character. So they have mentioned it in the question that if a character is mapping to itself, that's fine. So B can map to B. All right. And here B should map to B. Okay. Continue the iteration. You will come to A. So A is not present in the map. So simply create the mapping. A should map to A, right? A should map to A. And this A should also map to A. A should map to A. Okay. Now, as soon as you come to this B, right, you can see that B is already present here. Now, B should be mapping to what B, correct? So now you have to check if this B is mapping to B only or not. So you can see this is mapping toward D. So as we said, B has to map to B, right? All its occurrences must be replaced by B, but it cannot map to D, right? So here this condition is being violated and hence we can return false for this case. Now let me do the vice versa of this, right? If we do the vice versa for both of these strings, so I would have taken B ADC as S and T as BABC. ठीक है, ऑलराइट, फिर से मैप क्रिएट करते हैं. यहाँ पे we've created map 1. Let us create map 2. Again start iterating. So B here, B is not present in the map, so hash it. Create the mapping. It should map to B. It should map to B. Here also B should map to this B. Correct? Alright. Then this A should map to what? This A is not present, right? So we are here now in the second iteration. So A should map to A. A should map to A. This A should map to this A. So create the mapping here as well. Now D here, right? D should map to B. Correct? Is D here? No. D should map to B. Now B is present here. Correct? B is present here. So now this B should point to D. Correct? But sorry, this B should point to B, but this B is pointing to D, right? Here, see, B is pointing to B, right? And here, B is also trying to point to D, but originally this should have happened, right? So that means we have to return false here, right? So I hope now the whole approach is clear to you, how we are using map 1 and map 2 to create the mapping and check if both the strings are isomorphic or not, right? So now writing the code would be much easier. So you have to simply check if the mapping is, like, if the values are already present, then are they mapping to the correct character or not, right? The same character that's being put inside of the map, right? So that is the only thing that we have to check. If it is not, so you have to return false then and there. So let us go ahead and see the code. So here, this was the base condition that if the sizes are not equal, so there is absolutely no way to replace the characters in S with all the characters in T because the sizes are not same. So we have to return false. Now we are taking an ordered map. Two maps we are taking. The reason being, as I told you, that there we have to like check from both the directions, right? From S to T we have to map, and from T to S also we have to map. So for that reason we are using map 1 and map 2. So this map 1 is going to map from S to T, and map 2 is going to map from T to S. Okay. Then here we are simply checking if the value is already hashed, then it should be pointing or mapping to the same character that is being hashed, right? That was hashed previously. But if it is not, then you have to return false. Similarly for the T to S mapping, right? If the particular character is present inside of map 2 and if it is not mapping to the previously mapped character, then you have to return false. Otherwise you have to keep making these mappings, right? And keep checking these two conditions, right? If let's say none of these conditions ever return false, that means both the strings are isomorphic and you can safely return true. So I hope now the solution is clear.